Group cohesion is one of the most important concepts in group dynamics. It plays a huge role in how groups develop, and it affects a bunch of other group processes too. It helps keep the group stable, and it can be a source of both influence and conflict among members. Even though it's such a big deal, scholars still haven't landed on one clear definition. In this video, we're going to define group cohesion as the force that brings people together and keeps them connected. You can usually spot a highly cohesive group right away. These groups are full of people who really want to be there. They're motivated to stay. They listen to each other. They join in during discussions, and they give and get feedback pretty regularly. In a group like this, members feel supported and safe, making it easier for people to build strong, trusting relationships. So how do we measure group cohesion? There are a few options, such as simple observation, self-report surveys, interviews, and social network analysis. Like any other psychological concept, different methods can lead to different results. That's why it's a good idea to use more than one method and then compare the data. We can also look at cohesion from different levels. At the individual level, we can assess one person's connection to the group. At the group level, the connection between two or more members. And at the organizational level, the cohesiveness of the company culture. There are a couple of specific types of cohesion we can measure, like vertical bonding, which looks at how group members relate to the leader, and organizational bonding, which is about how one group fits into the larger organization. Studying these relationships helps us better understand where group cohesion comes from and what it leads to. Now let's talk about outcomes. Not surprisingly, researchers have found that highly cohesive groups often have a lot going for them. Members are usually more satisfied, more excited to be part of the group, and more committed to sticking with it. They're also more active in group discussions and tend to interact with other members more often. But what about actual performance? Do cohesive groups get better results? We'll dig deeper into that in the next section. Here's the thing, it's not all good news. While cohesion has its perks, it also has its downsides. For example, these groups are more prone to something called groupthink. That's when the members are so focused on reaching agreement that they miss out on better ideas or alternatives. Plus, high cohesion often means a big time and emotional commitment. That can lead to psychological burnout, conflict between work and personal life, and strained relationships outside the group. And if a close member decides to leave, that can really shake things up. Remaining members might pull back emotionally, feel isolated, or even deal with anxiety or depression. So, based on the current literature, are highly cohesive groups more productive than divided ones? In general, the answer is yes. However, several other factors also contribute to these higher levels of performance. First, group cohesion enhances the coordination of actions and resources, and any improvements in these areas will likely improve performance. Typically, the more coordination that's required, the more a cohesive group will outperform a disconnected one. In addition, in highly cohesive groups, members tend to share a common way of thinking about the group, its tasks and goals, and members' roles and expectations. But cohesion alone is not enough to lead a group to success. High task cohesion and commitment to group norms are essential as well. Now let's look at how group cohesion ties into group performance. It's a complicated relationship, and researchers have spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. Interestingly, in some studies, it looks like group performance has more of an impact on cohesion than the other way around. In other cases, it's more of a two-way street. high performance builds cohesion, and that helps drive even better performance. These studies also show that there's still more to the story. A bunch of other factors can help explain why some highly cohesive groups perform better than others. For starters, group size plays a role. Smaller groups usually have stronger cohesion, probably because it's easier for members to connect and coordinate when there are fewer people involved. The type of group also matters. Teams like sports groups and project-based teams often feel more unified than loosely connected work groups and committees. Knowing these differences helps us figure out how to build cohesion more effectively, both in specific teams and across larger organizations. Historically, group cohesion was thought of as a one-dimensional construct. It was mostly seen as how attracted people were to the group. But if we look at more recent research, that view has shifted. Now, many scholars see cohesion as a multidimensional concept. In other words, they believe there's several different sources of group cohesion. In the next few minutes, we're going to look at 5 of those: social, task, collective, emotional, and structural cohesion. Let's start with social cohesion. According to the research, it has at least 3 sources: interpersonal, group, and social attraction. Interpersonal attraction is basically how much individual members like one another. It's a key ingredient in building relationships, and it's closely tied to how cohesive the group feels overall. Group attraction is more about how much individuals are drawn to the group as a whole. And then there's social attraction, which is a little different. It's not about personal connection, but rather admiration for other members' status or roles in the group. So, instead of liking someone because of who they are, you're drawn to them because of what they represent in the group. Next is task cohesion. This is all about how committed group members are to the group's goal or mission. When this source of cohesion is strong, everyone's focused on working together, not just doing their own thing, to reach that shared goal. In addition, members believe the group can succeed. That shared belief is called collective efficacy. You can probably guess that this mindset makes success more likely. For example, athletes with high task cohesion often see performance anxiety as motivating, not overwhelming. And there's solid research to back this up. Mullen and Cooper found a positive link between task cohesion and performance across lots of different types of groups. Then there's collective cohesion. This one's all about identity. It develops when members see themselves as part of the group, when me starts to turn into we. People in these kinds of groups really feel like they belong. You'll hear them say things like, "We did a great job," or "We nailed it." They're proud of the group and quick to credit everyone, not just themselves. Sometimes they even describe the group as a family or a tight-knit community. In some cases, that group identity becomes so strong, it blends with a person's individual identity. So, without the group, they feel incomplete. This idea is part of identity fusion theory. When someone is fully fused with a group, they may go to extreme lengths to protect or support it, sometimes even risking their life. You see this in both heroic combat situations and, unfortunately, acts of terrorism. That might sound like a strange comparison, but the key point is the same. These individuals are deeply, unshakably committed to their group's mission. Moving on to emotional cohesion. This is the kind of bond that forms from shared emotions and group mood, what researchers call group affective tone. When emotional cohesion is strong, people are more likely to help each other, give useful feedback, and work harder. Sometimes this happens after the group experiences a big emotional event together, which is known as collective effervescence. It can also be shaped by how the group makes members feel over time. According to relational cohesion theory, people stick with groups that make them feel good and distance themselves from groups that don't. Think about a winning team. With every victory, they feel joy, pride, and confidence, and that motivates them to keep going. But a team that keeps losing? The frustration and disappointment can push people away. If the group becomes a source of negative emotions, it's only natural for members to start thinking twice about being part of it. Structural cohesion is all about how group members are connected through their roles and relationships. When a group is high in this source of cohesion, members have strong, dependable connections and know what's expected of them. These built-in structures help the group function smoothly. They guide behavior, help manage conflicts, and make communication more routine. Think about a restaurant staff. Servers, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, and managers all have defined roles. When everyone sticks to those roles and works together regularly, the team runs efficiently, especially during a busy dinner rush. Some groups naturally have more structural cohesion than others. Open groups, like volunteer organizations where people come and go, often have looser connections. Membership can change weekly depending on who's available. On the other hand, closed groups, like a surgical team or a competitive sports team, have fixed roles and consistent members. Over time, that consistency builds trust and strong working relationships. For example, a basketball team that plays together all season is likely to develop stronger chemistry than a team that rotates players every week. But closed groups also face challenges. If there's conflict or stress, they might fracture into cliques or subgroups, especially if there's a long-standing divide, like between senior and junior members. Building group cohesion isn't a one-size-fits-all task. What brings one group together might not work for another. That's why it helps to focus on common factors that can promote unity. Things like shared goals, spending time together, feeling like you belong, and having positive experiences as a group. Consider a small group of college students working on a class project with the shared goal of getting an A from the professor. Meeting regularly, getting to know each other, and celebrating small wins can help bring that group closer together. A great first step to building cohesion is developing trust, and that starts with relationships. Leaders can build this trust by taking time to get to know each group member and encouraging them to connect with other members. At its core, trust means believing someone won't let you down or harm you. By organizing casual team-building events, like trivia nights, escape rooms, or even just a group lunch, members can start bonding in ways that go beyond the workplace. These informal interactions help lay the groundwork for stronger connections. Once a foundation of trust is in place, it's important to set the group up for success. That means clearly defining what the group wants to achieve, outlining how to get there, assigning roles, and creating agreed-upon norms. For example, a tech startup might gather its team to brainstorm goals for an upcoming product launch. They might set weekly milestones, clarify who's responsible for what activities, like coding, marketing, and user testing, and agree to give each other feedback every Friday. When people contribute to setting these expectations, they feel more ownership over the process, and they're more likely to work hard and collaborate well. Another strategy is to introduce structure through hands-on activities, like challenge courses or games that are designed to improve teamwork. These activities can push members out of their comfort zones and help them learn how to rely on one another. In outdoor leadership camps, for example, groups often work together to cross physical obstacles, like climbing a wall as a team. As they progress, They self-disclose and share personal stories or fears, which builds closeness and trust. Coaches offer another great model for building cohesion. According to Terman, college athletes said the best coaches were motivational, fair, supportive, and deeply committed. They created an environment where players wanted to give their best and support each other. Think of a coach who encourages all players equally, celebrates team wins, and supports players through setbacks. That kind of leadership builds strong, unified teams. On the other hand, coaches who show favoritism, use harsh language, or embarrass players in front of others end up damaging morale. This can lead to players feeling isolated or discouraged, ultimately breaking down the group's connectedness. In conclusion, cohesion plays a powerful role in how groups and teams form, function, and succeed. Whether it's built through shared goals, strong emotional bonds, clear roles, or simply spending time together, cohesion helps groups feel connected and committed. But it's not always that simple. Too much cohesion can have downsides, like groupthink or burnout, and what works for one group might not work for another. Still, when leaders understand the different dimensions of cohesion, they can take meaningful steps to strengthen their group's dynamics.